Good Monday afternoon. 2 minutes in the box with Gordo, the daily grind of news, rumors, and updates. April 14th, 2025. Today, we're going to recap last night's games, standing and playoff chase update, news, and rumors. Congratulations to Western Michigan winning their first ever national championship. Ivan Demidov's debut, Gabriel Landeskog scoring his first goal since 2022 Stanley Cup playoffs, and previewing tonight's games. All right, let's get to it. All right, first up, let's talk about the Ottawa Senators and the Philadelphia Flyers. Senators 2 point valuable win, OT dub. Oh yeah, and they have definitely clinched that wild card one. And I got to tell you, it's going to be exciting for Ottawa to be in the playoffs for the first time since 2017. And you got Tim Stitzel in there, 23 goals this season. Drake Batherson, 41 assists. Claude Giroux still got it, 35 assists. Stitzel, he's got 75 points this season, and he's going to be electrifying. And this Ottawa Senators team is going to be fun to watch in the first round against whoever they play against. It's likely the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is going to be one of the feistiest and most hardworking battle of the Battle of Ontario in recent memory in the playoffs. It hasn't been done in a long, long time. We haven't seen a Battle of Ontario in 20 years or something, like since 2004. I mean, let's just put it that way. I mean, we haven't seen a battle like this in a long, long time, and it's going to cause a civil war between in the province of Ontario. And I'm excited. I'm excited for this matchup. And I know Philadelphia got a point out of it, but their season is likely over, and they've got a crossroads of off season they got to figure out. And meanwhile, in Jersey, across the Hudson River from Long Island to Newark, New York Islanders winning 1-0 against the New Jersey Devils. Bo Horvat, only goal in the game. He's the only one who got a point. No one else unassisted. And Coder gets a likely hearing from the NHL for injuring Adam Pelech with an illegal hit to the head, body check, and causes some blood. And it looks like Coder's going to be suspended for a few games. And it's going to be costly for the Devils, though. They're lacking in depth right now because of, losing Dougie Hamilton and Jack Hughes. It's going to be tough on them. Now we've got the Boston Bruins against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and David Pastrnak, 15 points in the last several games. I mean, David Pastrnak is one of the best players in the NHL. In the NHL. And he's not even in the playoffs. That is just sad. That is just sad to see. And I'm looking this up right now. 5 goals, 10 assists, 15 points in the last 5 games. That's 3 points on average. He's got a very good portfolio right there. He is just unbelievable. And another player who's a very good player under the radar this year is Morgan Geekie, 32 goals. Man, and he's an RFA. Boston, don't lose this guy. He could definitely deserves a payday. I know you guys are going to be retooling like the Washington Capitals, stealing from, catfriendly.com. I believe the Bruins will get back on track next offseason, but that was a good win by their part. But I'll tell you, you've got some good pieces, but you just had a rough year and it was not meant to be. Plus, the Florida Panthers kind of own you guys. All right, now we go to the Toronto Maple Leafs against the Carolina Hurricanes. Leafs increased their lead in the Atlantic Division, 4-1 victors. And I am just like, wow. John Tavares, 38 goals this season. He is going to get a payday. Not like a payday, I mean a contract extension for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He looks spectacular out there. He could be getting 40 goals, and he is a very valuable asset on the center depth for the Toronto Maple Leafs. William Nylander, 45 goals. Impressive indeed. Austin Matthews, 31 goals. Mitch Marner's got 73 assists so far this season. wow. I would say, Toronto's got a tough decision between Nyes and Marner. If I were Toronto, I hate to be the guy who beats the horse, repeatedly. I would keep Nyes over Marner. Marner sweepstakes gets more interesting. St. Louis Blues are interested in him. And I'm like, St. Louis, after that playoff run, that deep run, they're trying to get into the playoffs. It's impressive, but we'll have to see. You know, I believe Mitch Marner wants to go to a contending playoff team. I mean, he wouldn't mind going to play in Pittsburgh or Chicago, a basement team in the NHL. Anaheim, Utah, St. Louis. I mean, I guarantee you that three-fourths of the NHL who's looking for a ton, who's got a ton of cap space, would pay the money for Mitch Marner. And I'm afraid to spend the money, to be quite honest. I'm afraid to spend the money just because, you never know what you're going to get out of these free agents. Sometimes you pay the free agent, sometimes they don't perform, to their expectations. They get hurt and all that stuff. But sometimes, you get a player, like it's rare to see a player, get very good bang for the buck, and they exceed their expectations when you sign the contract. It's hard to determine, it's all about the circumstance, the culture, the situation, the layout. That's what's the issue is with all these teams in the NHL. You got to be in the right place, right time, circumstance, etc. All right, now we've got the Buffalo Sabres and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Lightning second place in the Atlantic Division, 7-4 dub. And looking at what we got here with Tampa Bay, Jake Gensel's got 40 goals this season. Now, that was a good deal. They knew Stamkos was in the decline. It was a smart move in the long run. Jake Gensel's got 40 goals, and Stamkos has got 20 something. I mean, Tampa Bay restructured everything, and bam, they are like they got home ice advantage. Last year they barely got in. They got the wild card, so they look like they're back in the load. And let's see here. Yeah, Nikita Kucherov, 83 assists this season, and Braden Hagel's got 55 assists. And Darlene's got 50 assists for the Buffalo Sabres. Sabres, they put up a good fight, but they came short-handed yet again. And Kucherov's got 36 goals and 83 assists. So basically 83 plus 36. So he's got about 109 points. 109 points. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll tell you, Tampa Bay, they are on a mission to get back on track. They want to get back to the Cup Finals really bad. They are reloaded and stuff. So, yeah. Now we go over to Columbus Blue Jackets against the Washington Capitals. Ovi got a little surprise guest, 3-6 Mafia in the house. They did a little pregame rap. And Ovi gets his 43rd goal of the season. Dylan Strome gets his 52nd assist of the season. But the Columbus Blue Jackets, they are staying alive like the Bee Gees and Disco. Still alive in the playoffs for the chase. Adam Fantilli's got 29 goals. He's going to be 31, 32 goals this season. And wow, I am very happy that Columbus is still in the chase. This makes it more interesting. Zach Greinke's got 22 goals this season, and he's got 50 something assists. I am gonna tell you, Zach Greinke, most underrated player in the NHL. And I'll tell you, Columbus, like I'm happy for you guys. You guys are grinding. You guys are still in this chase. And speaking of chase, you know, Jet Greaves does it again. He does it again. A back-to-back win against the Washington Capitals and keeping this season alive for the Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets chase is still alive. And Adam Vintilli, 52 points, plus one, 29 goals, 23 assists. He's looking like the player that the Blue Jackets got. It is a good sign for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they're still alive in this chase. Now we go to the Oilers and Winnipeg Jets. No matter, the Oilers win 4-1 against the Winnipeg Jets, and with the Washington Capitals losing, the Winnipeg Jets are officially the best team in the NHL and winning their first ever President's Trophy in the franchise history. First ever President's Trophy in franchise history. I'm telling you guys. First ever. I mean, they could have never done that while it was the first Winnipeg Jets from 1979 to 1996. In the WHA days, the Avco Cup 3 times, but never had the President's Trophy in Stanley in the NHL's history. First time ever for the Winnipeg Jets and the fourth Canadian team ever. And we're talking, Oilers, Flames, Canucks, and now the Winnipeg Jets getting the President's Trophy. The Winnipeg Jets, and they are now officially the smallest market in NHL history to have the President's Trophy. And I'll say this, St. the Edmonton Oilers, you know, having McDavid back in the lineup, 73 assists this season. But Winnipeg, they got the ultimate prize. But is this a possibility that they can break the President's Trophy curse? The first time for them. But the last time we seen the President's Trophy and Stanley Cup at the same time, the Blackhawks 2013, which I don't really count because it was a short season. That's an asterisk right there. I will explain that another day. Anywho, let's talk about the Calgary Flames and the San Jose Sharks. Calgary Flames win another one, and they're still alive. They are still alive in this playoff chase. It's unreal. This Calgary Flames team doesn't know when to quit. We didn't start the fire. The fire is igniting, and always fighting. And Calgary, they've got 2 games left, and we'll go look at the standings and see what's going to happen. But Calgary is still alive. I mean, it's unreal. Unreal here. In the final game, the Colorado Avalanche against the Anaheim Ducks. Ducks had a 2-0 lead. Not bad, not bad. But Colorado, 4 straight goals after that. The Colorado Avalanche getting a crucial dub against the Anaheim Ducks. Impressive indeed, impressive indeed. And now we got 6 games tonight. We've got the Chicago Blackhawks against the Montreal Canadiens, and the matchup is very interesting because we've got the anticipated highly expectation debut of Ivan Demidov from KHL from St. Petersburg. He's making his first appearance in the NHL at home. Man, he is Pavel Datsyuk-esque. Now, this is a guy who's going to be a superstar. Montreal's got Suzuki. They got Caulfield. They got Lane Hudson. They got Slafkovsky. They've got a great young group of players, and I believe Montreal is going to be a dangerous team in the long run because they have the depth. They got every piece in this organization. I know, and I'll tell you, Connor Bedard, he did break a record, most assists as a teenager in the franchise's history. It's good for him. He's going to have a lot of help in the offseason, though. Connor Bedard still has the talent. But he doesn't have the cast. He doesn't have the cast around him. I got to tell you, this is going to be a interesting matchup. Let's see if Davinov and Bedard against each other. This is going to be an interesting matchup. Then we got the Dallas Stars against the Detroit Red Wings. Red Wings are eliminated, but the Stars, they want to keep that home ice in the first round in the Central Division against the Colorado Avalanche, and we'll preview that matchup in a bit. I got to tell you, Dallas is a tough team. Detroit, they have snowballs of hell, but they've got a interesting offseason. I'll explain that later. Then we got the final home game of the Florida Panthers of the season against the New York Rangers. And the New York Rangers, a lot of controversy. I don't want to talk about. I'll bring this up tomorrow. But the Florida Panthers winning 3-2 against the Sabres on Saturday night. And the Rangers are playing, for their lives. But let's just put it this way. The New York Rangers are going to be in a bizarre world crossroads of dysfunction. I see the Rangers going to be gutting it and rebuilding. It's a weird team. It's a weird, weird team. And everybody's thinking, oh, they're gonna win next year, blah blah blah. I mean, it's like deja vu, in the '90s, those 4 years, when they won the President's Trophy in '92, they lost in the second round. The following year, 92-93 season, they missed the playoffs. 93-94, they win the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup. I don't see it happening for the Rangers. I don't want this to be deja vu, history repeat itself. But I'll tell you, Florida is ready, and this is a potential future matchup and a future outdoor game on New Year's Day in Miami. This is going to be fun, guys. This is going to be fun. And then we got Utah Hockey Club against the Nashville Predators. Not a lot riding on this game, but Utah still wants to make a huge impact for their inaugural season. 37-30 and 13. And Nashville, they just want to put it out of their misery. Their season's over. Who cares? The Preds, they were underwhelmingly disappointing this year with all the big signings they did in the offseason. You remember this: big signings don't make an impact. It's all about the culture and the situation with the team itself and the circumstances. I got to tell you, Nashville got cocky and they went up too much too soon to win, and they just screwed it up. And I tell you, Nashville, they better rebound next season. They got to retool. And then we got the future first round matchup of the LA Kings and the Edmonton Oilers. This matchup here, it's exciting. I'm going to say, this is the fourth straight year this is happening, and we're seeing this preview all over again. LA, man, I think LA's got the energy. I think LA's going to be winning this game. And plus, this is going to be, an intense series, fourth straight year, and I believe the fourth time is the charm for the Kings, and they do have home ice advantage for this playoff this year against the Edmonton Oilers. I'll tell you, it's going to be interesting. And then the last game, San Jose Sharks and the Vancouver Canucks. Two teams out of the playoffs, and this is going to be, like figuring out the lottery odds of the San Jose Sharks, Vancouver Canucks. They're in a crossroads. They don't know what the hell is going to happen, but we'll have to wait and see what happens here on out. All right, now let's get to the standings. So we got the Toronto Maple Leafs 104 points, the Tampa Bay Lightning with 100, and the Florida Panthers with 98. So they each have 80 games played, two to go each. We'll have to see what happens in the final two games. We'll have to wait and see what happens. And then we've got Washington, Carolina, and New Jersey. Nothing's going to change right there. And then you got Ottawa at 94, Montreal with 88. But Columbus, they're still alive. They're staying alive like the Bee Gees and Disco. 85 points. They got two games to go. And Montreal's got 88 points with 80 games played, two games each. Scenario is that if Montreal wins tonight, any circumstance, Columbus is eliminated. But it's scoreboard watching time. And on a hope and a pray for the Blue Jackets, they pray that Montreal stumbles a bit. But this is going to be enticingly fun, a close nose hair finish. And then we got in the Western Conference, nothing changing in the Central Division. The Winnipeg Jets, congratulations once again, President's Trophy winners of the NHL. Dallas Stars second place, Colorado Avalanche third. Now you've got the Vegas Golden Knights, top of the Pacific Division, 107. LA Kings, 101. 99 for the Edmonton Oilers. So basically, LA's got to get climbing with these points because Edmonton's got 2 points behind them, and then they're both playing against each other tonight. They better get it done. If I was LA, get those two very valuable points, and don't put this on cruise control yet because Edmonton's got two games left. LA's got three, so we'll have to wait and see. And then the West is getting wild here. All right, speaking of Minnesota, wild, 81 games each for the Blues and Wild, 95 for the Wild, 94 for the Blues, and the Flames have 92. This right here is going to be a nail biter, and it's crunch time for the Wild and Blues. Let's just put it this way. Both win. So 97 for the Blues, 96 for the Blues, 97 for the Wild. But then you got Calgary waiting. And if they win two more, it's 96. So basically, we're going to see a mixture of confusion, but we'll have to see what happens because this is going to be coming down to the wire. Calgary, St. Louis, and Minnesota. Minnesota and St. Louis, I believe those two will get in, but Calgary, let's they've had a great run this year. They've had a great run this year. I would say that this will become close. It will come down to the wire. I just got this interesting feeling that it's going to be St. Louis and Calgary. Minnesota's going to be out. I hate to admit it, but Minnesota having the injuries really cost them, It really cost the Wild, but it would suck not to see Flower in the playoffs. I feel like it's like too late, but St. Louis though, they had, losing that overtime to Seattle really cost them. But Calgary, man, they got those two games left, and anything is possible. Anything is possible. And yeah, and going to the other thing is Gabriel Landeskog scoring his first goal since 2022 Stanley Cup playoffs, 4-3 victory over the Henderson Knights. Landeskog is currently conditioning in the American League for the Colorado Eagles. Oh yeah, what a night for him. And I feel like Landeskog is ready. He's definitely going to be ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs. And now I would like to congratulate Western Michigan Broncos, the Lawson Lunatics, and Bronco Rain, Bronco Nation. Congratulations on your first ever national championship. I'm very proud of you guys. Congratulations. All right. This has been 2 Minutes in the Box with Gordo. We'll be back here tomorrow. Remember to like, follow, subscribe on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, TikTok, etc. This is 2 Minutes in the Box with Gordo, the daily grind of news, rumors, and updates. Have a great day.